How's it going, guys? Persona Cheese here, and today I'll be deciding who is the best electric persona in Persona 4 Golden. Before we begin, like with all my best blank persona videos, I'll only be discussing dedicated electric personas and those that are generally considered to be some of the strongest, not all of them. We have 3 candidates today, those candidates being Thor, Hachiman, and Odin. So let's get started. Thor has the lowest base level of the 3, that being 65, and has the lowest magic agility and luck, but middle ground strength and the best endurance by far. He also resists physical, has 1 drain and 1 weakness. Those affinities may not sound super amazing, but considering how often enemies use physical attacks, resisting physical is great. As for his moves, a few of them are physical focused, like Deathbound and Master, but we won't be talking about those because we're trying to find the best electric persona specifically. Apart from that, he learns high counter and null physical, which is a combo I never really understood. Personally, I only like to use high counter on personas that don't resist physical in any way, because that's how you get the most utility out of it. But null physical is still amazing. Finally, Thor learns Thunder Rain at level 70, and he's the only persona in Golden that can learn this move, which definitely gives him an edge. That being said, it doesn't really make up for his awful magic stat compared to the other two, not to mention his agility and luck. Next up is Hachiman, who starts at level 70. His stats are a lot better than Thor's, barring his endurance, which is much worse, and about on par with Odin's, specializing mainly in magic and a bit in luck. As for his affinities, Hachiman's are the best, at least from my perspective. His 2 nulls are great, and unlike Thor and Odin, his only weakness is Dark, which in my experience isn't going to cause him any problems unless you're fighting the Reaper. In all honesty, Hachiman's moves are sort of all over the place. He doesn't learn or start with Zeodyne, so you'll either get screwed over by not giving him Zeodyne, or get screwed over by having to spend an inheritance slot on it, and Electric Break is, in my opinion, awful because you're the wild card. You don't need break skills. However, he also has Makarakan and Matarukaja and learns Takunda, which are all super handy. Makarakan is great against big bosses' super attacks, and Matarukaja and Nakunda are great for fighting bosses too. He learns Revolution as well, but for me, Revolution just isn't worth it. Last, we have Odin. He starts at level 74, and you unlock him by maxing out Kanji's Social Link. His stats are the best overall, even though his endurance is much lower than Thor's, and his affinities are arguably on par with Hachiman's. He has 1 null, 1 drain, and 1 weakness, where Hachiman has 2 nulls and 1 weaknesses. Because Odin is a drain instead of a second null, and because from what I can tell, fire is used far more often than darkness, they're about the same for me in terms of affinities. As for his moves, they aren't bad exactly, but a lot of them, like Megarodine, Windamp, and Pantaray, are wind focused, and because we're discussing the best electric persona, those moves mean nothing for this. Apart from that, he has the standard Zeodyne and Muzzeodyne, plus Regenerate 3 and Mind Charge. Regenerate 3 seems good at first, until you realize that it's only really useful if you have the persona, in this case Odin, equipped for many turns, which you probably won't unless you're fighting a boss and he's your best magic user. Mind Charge though is incredible. The only real negative is that you might already have it and you really only need it on one persona. So, which one's the winner? Well, it's not Thor. His Thunder Rain, null physical, and endurance is fantastic, but his low magic really weighs him down, and his other moves are either meh or help him with physical attacks instead of electric attacks. As for the others, Hachiman and Odin are pretty similar when it comes to stats, and each one has a bonus over the other in terms of affinities. Hachiman is a weakness that's typically exploited less often, and Odin is a drain where Hachiman only has a second null. So it ultimately comes down to their moves. Because it's so close, I'd suggest that you choose between the two based on who you can pass better moves onto. But for the purposes of this video, where we're not discussing terrible moves, I have to say Hachiman wins by a small margin. There's only one real reason for it. In my opinion, Hachiman has 4 good moves: Muzzeodyne, Makarakan, Matarukaja, and Nakunda, whilst Odin only has 3: Zeodyne, Muzzeodyne, and Mind Charge. And keep in mind, when I say good moves, I mean good moves that are related to electric or things like buffs and debuffs. Obviously, Odin's Megarodine, Windamp, and Pantaray are great moves, but like I didn't count Thor's good physical-based moves when considering him, I don't consider Odin's wind-based moves when deciding the best electric persona, which means Hachiman is our winner. And if you want to find out who the best physical persona is, then watch this video too.